Hello and good evening to the, I don't know what number episode we are currently at. It's something in the 20s, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken and Bucky can find out later on. Hello and good evening. The tune that you're hearing in the background playing is a song that Bucky has composed especially as a theme song for this radio show that we're doing, or for this social broadcasting program. I think it was.
Yeah, and I get to interject a little bit if you don't mind.
Yes.
If you don't mind, this is Bucky, by the way, guys. The song you're listening to was actually the synth you hear is a synth that was created by one of our guests today. Because the synth I create that theme song, I actually used a synth like Valley modules. And Dale Johnson is going to be along a little bit later, but that sound you heard, maybe you can play it again. And
yes, definitely.
That synth sound is actually the guest who created that. So take it away.
Yeah, great. I didn't know that. So thanks for interfering, Bucky. You don't necessarily need to leave the room if you're, you can. Yeah, I just want to, Globo. Exactly, that's what's happening. If I'm turning down music, Bucky's starting to complain. This is always the way. So, yeah. So, Bucky obviously did it with the VCV Rack, or the synth that Dale is talking about later. Globo, by the way, what does MSPW Fundraiser Maya mean? I know your normal name is Globo Cop. I don't know what you want. MSP Waves, I get it, but fundraiser Maya, the Maya have been a tribe in Mexico, I think. Does this anything have to do with anything that I'm just saying, or is it just randomly connected? Well, anyways, it's episode 19. I heard Knowledge is... I saw that Knowledge has written this already 1 second after Bucky has written it. So obviously Bucky, the producer of this fantastic show, has been quite up to the task of telling me what episode this is, because I didn't know. I thought we were already in the 20s. So no, it's the last one in the 90s, or in the 10s. Okay, I can live with that. Today is Halloween edition, and it has been a dramatically hectic day for me. Mostly because thanks to the daylight saving issues and the change of the clock. So now in Central Europe, we are not any longer in Central European summertime, but we are now in Central European time, which means that the difference to UTC is not 2 hours, but 1, which on the other hand side means this show is now airing 1 hour earlier for me than before. And yeah, well, this has brought me some kind of hectic. I didn't think that I was going to go there. I left early and everything, and I planned everything, but it didn't work out. So yeah, that's the bad story. I'm quite hectic today. I'm trying to get a bit more relaxed now, having a beer by my side. By the way, for sure you can always listen to me on Discord, or we are having streams as well on Twitch, where you can even see a small video of mine. Small because the bandwidth I'm currently having here in where I live is, well, it could be better. It is working if I'm broadcasting with a few hundred kilobytes per second, but a few thousand is definitely not possible. So I'm having a small video, but in this you can see me drinking beer. It's not a German beer, by the way. I'm not making any advertisement now, since we're not any YouTubers. So no advertisement. But it's no German beer. This is what I can say. There are a lot of beers brewed outside Germany. Yeah, but I got German bandwidth. That's totally correct. I'm happy if it holds, If you can remember the first shows that we had. Yeah, I'm gonna tell something to the pink lady in a few seconds. If you remember the first shows that we had, there was my connection to the internet completely gone, at least partly in the show. So it works out now. It's shit, but it's it's dependable shit. something that you can count on. This is okay for me. Yeah, Pink Lady Patience. The Pink Lady messaged us. Well, for those who don't know the Pink Lady, that's Ilana, also known as Texlat, and the co-host of the show. She messaged us that she's having a root. I don't know how she exactly called it. I would need to read it to be sure, but she said something like a root channel thingy.
Root canal.
Root canal.
I don't know what
it wasn't a channel.
I don't know what. I don't know what it would be in German, but a root canal.
Yeah.
Not nice.
Not nice.
Yeah.
I thought that much, but I really had to think about exactly what she's meaning. I think, yeah, it's eine Wurzelbehandlung in German, or to get the root out. Hi, love and freedom. And in the end, it's something very painful. She tries to make it, but she will be totally drugged and most likely even funnier than she is usually.
It may make for an interesting show because she is going to be, like you said, she's going to be quite drugged because she's been to the dentist, and she said she thinks she may be sounding like Elvis.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for Ilana sounding like Elvis. Really. By the way, Bucky, I don't know if we did that. Oh yeah, Knowledge did. Thanks a lot, Knowledge is. Because normally we are broadcasting on the Utopian channel as well. A short invitation to join the social broadcasting that we are doing. What are we going to do into the show today? Well, basically, Bucky introduced guest number 2 that we're going to have in the show. So in the second half of the show, we are going to talk to Dale from Valley Audio. And obviously, this was a synthesizer used for creating this fantastic theme song that Bucky just introduced to us again. And we're definitely looking forward because they are doing this. This is an open source synthesizer. I cannot pronounce the word synthesizer. I'm finding out more and more words I cannot pronounce.
You're doing good. Synthesizer is a tough one. How about
is,
aluminum? Can you do aluminum? How is
aluminum? I think I can do aluminum, but I cannot do synthesizer. There are too many S sounds. Yeah, Bucky, what's your costume for today? It's Halloween in the end.
Yeah, you've seen my costume.
Oh yeah, I did, you? And it's fantastic.
I was Mickey Mouse, but it was
totally spooky.
It's not necessarily the costume, is how it was used, and yeah.
That was even more spooky.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You guys know I teach a lot of young musicians music, so I every year I make a big deal of Halloween in my music classes. So I danced for them. I actually danced to the Depeche Mode song. What was the Silence? Love the Silence, or
yeah, it was.
Was that it?
However, you came to this song, it was, I don't know. Well. However, you are Mickey Mouse at Halloween. What happens? Is this normal in Canada?
Oh well, it's whatever costumes we have here. In our basement, we have a wardrobe of costumes. It could have been Mickey Mouse. It could have been Ghost. It could have been Dracula. It could have been anything. Anyway, Mickey Mouse was good because I like the big white hands. It makes for good dance. Oh
yeah, you had really big white hands. Definitely, I saw that when you were doing the old Phil Collins thingy in how was his song called? Can't Dance, I think.
Valley had it right. It was "Enjoy the Silence" by Depeche Mode. I was dancing to that one. You had to love it. Maybe I'll post a video.
Yeah, you could. I was thinking about it, but since you have shown this to me in a bit private, I thought maybe not doing it. But just maybe. So you can maybe leave this for later on, so as a teaser, just like Ilana does.
We'll see. I'll have a look, but maybe when Ilana comes in and she's feeling the effects of her dental appointment with the anesthesia, Perhaps we play Mickey Mouse dancing around on the stage. She probably thinks she was tripping or.
Yeah, most likely. So what I wanted to say is, by the way, you can listen to this at Twitch, and you can listen to this or watch this as well on Vim, I think. Globo is posting the links, or has already posted the links, if you do not want to listen in Discord. So this is the possibility of hearing us. And if you're hearing this later on as a recorded show, oh, Bucky, by the way, recorded show.
Yeah, I'm recording on my end. Are you
Very
recording
good.
on your end?
Very
I should have
good.
reminded you. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Yes, and one thing too is if you're listening to this show on Twitch, or if you listen to this show on any of the other places where any MSP Live broadcasts, and you want to get in on the chat, come to the PAL Discord or the MSP Waves Discord, and join in on the chat, because you'll be able to ask questions of everybody. So come on over, join the party.
Yep. And by the way, you have reminded me today that it's Halloween, and maybe this wasn't the perfect timing for a show, but I'm sure that the show will be watched later on as well, as a recorded one, just like the other episodes have been as well. So what are we going to do today? Like I said, we're having Valley Audio and Dale from Valley Audio in the second half of the show. And since I'm a musician, but I'm not the one playing keyboards and synths and whatever, Buckydurddle is going to help me interviewing Dale, because obviously maybe I'm just simply not able to ask the right questions. I'm only used to instruments that have 6 strings. So for sure, yeah, Kraftwerk. Me and Kraftwerk, we go way back, you know. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen in the second half of the show. In the first half of the show, and I'm really delighted to see Louis and Rivals entering, because obviously I just had a talk with Renee in the chat here, Renail1337, obviously super lead, before the show, and he said that, yeah, I already knew that he's working for a German company, but this company is obviously based quite close to where Louis and Rivals live, so I find this quite amusing. So this is what's going to happen in the first half of the show. Trainbreakers.io is a game, Renee. Can I say it like this? It's a strategy RPG. This is what you write on your website.
Yeah, exactly. It's strategy RPG that runs on the Ethereum blockchain and can be accessed from within the Decentraland metaverse.
Okay, so that's now... Well, we are in the end we are running an open source show, and we're running a quite technical one. So there is already a lot of terms in your first sentence that we need to define. Okay, I think strategy RPG is not a big problem, is it, audience? If this is already a problem, then please tell me. But I think that the audience is used to strategy or to RPGs, role-playing games in general. But based on a blockchain, how is this interacting?
Yeah, blockchain is a decentralized database system. The most famous one, I would say, in the mainstream is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first blockchain there, and the second biggest blockchain that exists is Ethereum, and Ethereum is a freely programmable blockchain where you can save more data than just transactions of money. You can program games or applications called dApps, like decentralized apps, with Ethereum. And for the first time, you are able to digitally scarce items or digital goods. And that is what we do with Chainbreakers. You will have items.
Okay. I think the blockchain concept is clear, because in the end, we are having parts of the operations that we're having in Utopian is based on the Steemit blockchain, or on the Steem blockchain. Steemit is just a company. So I think from blockchain perspective, this is all clear. but you're
Great.
integrating this. So obviously you're going to I don't know, have goods, items, whatever, integrated in Ethereum into I don't know, smart contracts or whatever.
Exactly. Like we write the whole game design in smart contracts, and that opens up completely new opportunities for game design. One thing which we are doing is think about all the money spent in game in like a quest area, like RPG style. You have a quest area and people spend money there, and then the money gets pooled inside the smart contract. And depending on how much experience points you earn while playing, you get a larger cut out of the total money spent. And that is a way, like a transparent way without a middleman, where you can basically earn money by playing better than average. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds quite interesting. But how is this all fitting together with the virtual front end being in Decentraland? Maybe I'm just agnostic to that because I just looked into Decentraland because Bucky said that Decentraland, that he has got some stake in Decentraland, and therefore I just took a small look. But how is this going to connect?
Okay, so Decentraland is a virtual reality metaverse that has its land ownership saved on the Ethereum blockchain. So in last year's December, you could buy virtual land in Decentraland, like virtual plots of lands. I think it were like 90,000 parcels. Every parcel was 100 square meters, like virtual square meters. And if you have the ownership of one or more parcels, you can deploy three-dimensional websites basically onto those parcels. Like you upload a scene which you have programmed, and then people who run through Decentraland can see your uploaded world at the coordinates which you own basically. And Chainbreakers integrates in a way that we provide different quest areas and deploy them on different places within this metaverse. So people who travel throughout Decentraland can play our game on various parcels.
Okay, is this really like a third person feeling, or what? How should I imagine that, being a role player and everything?
At the moment, the SDK only supports first person.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have third person, obviously, but it also works in first person. Like we have first prototypes ready and already programmed. And it feels kind of cool. Like you can also use VR goggles to run around in this alpha state of the Decentraland world. But third person would be obviously the coolest.
Yeah.
And they're working on all of this.
But first person with goggles is also a very good idea. So I didn't know that you could do that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, that is the first step with camera angles and stuff, which they implemented. First person with goggles, or first person in the web browser with WHSD and mouse, like any regular first person shooter you play. It feels like that.
Okay. And Love and Freedom just said or asked the question, so to create a game, you have to have parcels in Decentraland?
That's another very interesting aspect about smart contracts. We will deploy certain quest areas on land or parcels that we own. But we also give like land investors or Decentraland investors who stake their money in virtual land the opportunity to allow us as a company to deploy a quest area onto their land and give them a revenue cut of all in-game purchases that happen on that land. Like basically,
like a rent.
It is, yeah, but it is like a revenue cut. It's not a fixed.
It's not a fixed sum. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like another way of integrating smart contracts that we're looking forward to, and right now we are started to implementing it.
That sounds very promising. How far are you already? Because you said something about alpha, and I saw some graphics on your website as well.
Yeah, we were developing prototype and very early prototype outside of Decentraland earlier this year, and approached Esteban and Ari, the founders, as well as some other team members, and showed it to them. It was also running in the browser, and they really liked it and asked us if we want to migrate it and make it an exclusive launch title for Decentraland. And we agreed, and since I think it was June, yeah, we are programming this game to the SDK since June, and tomorrow our crowd sale starts to kick off the biggest part of development. To get the game done until September next year.
Okay, so this is already part of your roadmap. This is something that I definitely wanted to ask you as well. Do you have something like a roadmap? For sure, you got to have a roadmap.
Yeah, let me check on our website. There's a roadmap. Let me read the exact dates.
I'm getting there as well.
I don't want to tell different stuff.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
So we want to have our MVP ready until end of this year, like the basic game design should work. It will not be balanced at that point. And then we want to have an alpha version ready till February, till April for 2019. And at that point, we already get in bigger player base to get feedback on UX, UI, and balance the game better. Then we want to have a beta in July and finally a stable version in September, which is really a full-fledged and polished experience that is working in a way that players or users expect it to work, basically, like playing a beautiful game in the end.
So this is quite a cool concept, and I need to wrap my head around it, obviously. So I think everybody in the audience needs to. So what is going to happen is, the first question that is somewhere on my mind: do I have to somehow be invested in Decentraland to be able to play Chainbreakers, or is this just the setting where it's going to happen, but you don't need necessarily to be invested in there? You don't need to have your own parcels.
You don't have to have your own parcels. Basically, you as a Decentraland user or player would walk through the metaverse and see our game, and then you would select a name or something like that, directly dive into it, because in the Ethereum network you already have an account. You don't need to register for our game in the classical way. You can just start, and if you acquired items in our crowd sale, you can start ahead of others. If not, you will be definitely allowed to purchase weapons or stuff inside the parcels in Decentraland. And in the end, the player is the user, the end user, who does not need to own land or hasn't to be invested in Decentraland in any way, except that he needs to own the virtual currency Mana, which we are using.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly the question. So what do I need to do in order to be able to play that game? Do I need to have an Ethereum account, a wallet, or do I need to... I don't know. What's the prerequisites to do that?
You will need an Ethereum wallet. For example, most of the people use MetaMask as a Chrome or Firefox extension. And then you need some Ethereum in there, very small amounts to cover transaction costs, which will be lower.
So you need to do transactions. So you need the normal. It's not a blockchain where transaction really cost fees.
Yeah, in the beginning, yes, but we are working, and Decentraland is also working with company called Matic Network, and they are providing the Plasma Plasma EVM sidechain, which means this is second layer scalability solution for Decentraland and also for chain breakers, which allows very low cost
Yeah,
transactions.
understood. So you're planning to go on a side chain to Ethereum and not directly on the main one.
Yeah, right now we have it like running on the main run, but that is going to change before the game is released.
Okay, so I need to have an Ethereum wallet and obviously a user account in Decentraland, and then I'm ready to go. Well, I can, for sure, I need to somehow participate in the crowd sale that is going to start when? You said tomorrow or something?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Perfect.
It will start in around 17 hours.
Oh yeah, I just see it. There is a countdown, a convenient countdown on your website.
Yeah.
So what can I? Well, maybe I'm asking too much, but what can I buy in the crowd sale? Is it weapons or is it the player himself, or what is for sale?
Basically, the player is being in the role of a commander, and this commander hires or frees up slaves. That's what the storyline says.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you get units, and then you can equip those units with items and resell those items in the crowd sale to increase the chances to successfully complete quests faster, like stuff like that. Increase performance. And by increasing your performance, you increase your dividends that you get out of the pool, like the dividend pools, which get filled up with the in-game purchases. Like you raise your performance by purchasing the items, and you can amortize the investment quite fast if you play smart.
Playing smart is obviously quite a good idea. It always is, by the way. It's not just in this game. But now I forgot. I wanted to ask something, but I forgot totally. So first I need to make an invest, and the money is coming from or let's say the pool that you're somehow dividing between the players is coming from the income that you generate by selling items. This is what I understood.
Like this crowd sale investment, we will use that to cover the development cost, but all the money that gets spent throughout the game itself after we have released gets pooled in those dividend pools. Also, if you spend money in mini games or things we also like plan to implement on those quest passes, all of this gets channeled into the smart contract to increase the dividends that players earn while playing.
Makes sense. And if I'm following a bit the information that you're giving me on the website, it's not only you being developing that game. It's a lot of people, and obviously a company behind it called Quellcode, which is a quite funny word. At least for me, since I'm German, and this is kind of an this is kind of an English-German thingy mix-up thingy. So it's not just exactly you; it's a company.
Yeah, that's why we need to pay wages. Of course, we need to pay the people who develop it, and that's why we do the crowd sale. Like my co-founder and me, we founded the company 6.5 years ago. And we have like 16 people employed, and we've been working with Decentraland since earlier this year already. We implemented a game from Singapore called Ethereum into virtual reality and worked on several different projects. And VR is something that we are doing for about 4 years now. So that's how we got in contact with Esteban and Ari because of our virtual reality expertise. And blockchain was something that was quite new to us before the land auction last year. But we wrapped our head around it and really dived into this blockchain topic and love to program decentralized apps and combine that with our virtual reality expertise.
Yeah, and I think this is making fantastic sense if I'm following the chain of dominoes that just fell down in my head. They did not fall down now, but in the process. It's just not just one time. But I think I definitely need to look much more into Decentraland and all the things connected to it, just like the game that you have been talking about. Bucky, you are I don't know, you are ahead of time again, since you're having 2 parcels in Decentraland and I don't. You know, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I it's not very often that I'm ahead of the game. Honestly, I'm usually sadly behind.
Oh, but in this time you are amazing. You know, I barely see your.
Renee probably knows that when Decentraland first offered their parcels to purchase, I sat at my computer and waited, and right at the moment when the doors opened and you could purchase your parcels, I got my code, I double checked everything, make sure it was right, and 10 seconds after the gates opened, I hit buy, and it was gone. Everything was sold out. It was like $20 million worth of land sold.
So there's nothing more to get.
I didn't get any. And then everybody complained and me included, because all of us who were following the project for months and months and months, we didn't get anything. And some large investors got all of it. So then there was some mix-up with China and da-da-da-da. Anyway, they decided to do another offering for everybody that was on the whitelist, and I was on the whitelist. So then we were allowed to purchase land. So I got 2 parcels then. So I was able to do it a couple of months after. So, but that was, I was so mad.
So there's nothing to buy anymore.
But I think what you're talking about was like the initial coin offering, like the ICO of the mana token.
That's correct.
Are you sure that the land purchasement itself happened in December, not in September?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, like you were left out at purchasing the currency at a very cheap price. That's right. Happened.
That's right. But then when I did get it, they offered the same price. So I was included eventually.
Okay.
But then I purchased the land in December, like you said, and I got a couple of nice parcels. That was an interesting process too, because for those listeners out there, this land is very what would you say? It's almost physical, where it's on a map. So you can purchase blocks on the grid of the map. So there are roads that go around, and you can purchase land that's on a road, or maybe land that's not on a road, but it's on a map. So I found a couple of spots that I really liked, and then I put my bid in, whatever the number was, like 1,000 mana or something, and then somebody outbid me. So then I moved to another lot, and I bid again, my 1,000 mana, and somebody outbid me again.
Yeah, and that's exactly the question that I'm having as well, Love and Freedom. What does your parcel look like, Bucky? Is it great? Is it just? Is there a throne on it?
There's going to be a throne on it, and that's where I'll sit. But and I'll have a stool like beside the throne, and that's where you'll sit.
Oh yeah, that's okay for me. Like the Chester.
And you can play for me, yes, and tell me funny stories, and then I can have guillotine as well. So well, it's nothing there now. I guess it's just flat land. You can't view it, but it's there on a grid.
Cannot view it.
The place of it. I should bring up. I'll see if I can bring up an image of the grid and let you see where it is. But eventually, just like Renee was saying, we'll be able to build on our land however we want in 3 dimension. So I can build a skyscraper on that land if I wanted, or a landfill.
Very good idea, by the way, for my beer bottles that are empty.
Yeah, that's right. All your empty bottles will be stored on my landfill site. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm really excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's totally. I'm totally left out because I do not have any parcel. Is there something left to sell? Buy?
Renee, can Jan buy a piece of land? Can Jedi buy a piece of land still? Is that possible? I don't even.
They opened the second market, like where investors can trade peer-to-peer with other people who want to be an investor. They opened that market in March. I will put the link in the audience chat.
Oh yeah, very good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, now if you want to purchase a piece of land for 1,000 mana, it's not possible anymore. Like you can go from 10,000 mana upwards, and those parcels which are linked to a road or close to a community plaza, those go up for like 20,000 mana.
What is
Like,
the there needs to be some kind of conversion to normal money. What does that mean?
it is 7 cents per mana, I think, or 7.5 cents.
Yeah, it's on
Thousands of-
Bitrix.
Thousands of dollars.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
you can coin market cap. You can see the mana.
Yeah, I didn't check. I was sure that you or Renee know.
Of course.
Yeah, so this is a totally interesting concept. And is this going to be then are you able to play against people, or is it playing with people, or is it, I don't know, how would you strategy RPG is a quite broad term to crawl under, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like for speaking about Chainbreakers, it will be possible to party up and do quests together, like with other players, classical PvE. And as soon as like scalability technology has advanced to a point where we have like state channel transactions, like very, very fast transaction times, we want to like build like a PvP mode where we can of course use all the weapons from the crowd sale. But for the first phase of the game, we will have like a PvE strategy RPG game.
So cooperative against environment.
Exactly. Like you can think about having different quests, and some of the quests might require like 5 units to be sent there. And mainly I have 2, another one has 2 additional units, and then we can send our 5 units together on the quest. And as they return, the loot gets split. Yeah, but that's how you collaborate. And in the end game, we want to go for raids, where like very.
Oh yeah, you need to have a raid. Everybody needs to have a raid in the end game.
Yeah, of course.
like World of Warcraft has, I don't know, paved the way for raids. Very good.
I've said that for years. I mean, that's how
I'm still having
got inspired.
I'm still having my this. They sent out in 2014 statues of, I don't know, they're ugly, but I'm still having it up there somewhere. Like World of What? Yeah, they sent out this orc statue for having an account for 10 years. I still have it, by the way. I'm paying it, but I'm not playing. It's almost like if you're having a gym contract, you know? Like,
Yeah,
it's basically
I
the same
know
thing.
that.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. I'm still having it. I'm still paying it. I don't even have World of Warcraft installed on my computer lately. But it's like having, you know, a gym contract where you are not going to.
Yeah, like it's a trap basically.
Yeah, totally. I love Blizzard, so just take my money
Yeah,
and send me
good
statues or whatever. Yeah, no, it's sadly not. But maybe I need to think about quitting this. But I'm
Yeah,
having
it's not 2004, 2005 anymore, where this game was crazily nice.
That's
and
true. It was. But I'm having this since 14 years now. You know, I think I can never quit.
Okay, guys, I just posted up in the audience chat. I posted up a small segment of the map of Decentraland.
Yeah, I see
So
that.
you can see in the bottom right corner is the darkened right rectangle. That portion of the map is what's blown up in the middle of the screen, so you can see how big it is. So yeah, that's the
but
world.
where are your thingies?
Okay, hang on. I'll show you my.
Yeah, now you're just showing a map, but not yours. I expect big things. Oh, now this is from the upper left. It's like the Ultima Online perspective, formerly. I don't know, isometrisch, I think it's in German, but I don't know how.
Isometrical 2.5D.
Oh yeah,
Looks
thanks
like
a lot.
that, right?
Exactly. Looks like a CPU. Yeah, you never saw a CPU, Rabbits. Obviously. There are no in Paderborn in your PC. Yeah, well, this is sounding really crazy. So, and it's for sure going to be mana that you're getting out as a compensation for being above the average player, no?
Yeah, like we decided to use their token to stabilize or improve, contribute to the economy of the mana token, and we didn't want to offer another token because like that's something that is wrong in our opinion. In the beginning, the game was running with Ethereum when we showed it to them in Buenos Aires, and when we decided to make it a Decentraland launch title, it just made sense to move everything to Mana because that's what the Decentraland users will have in their wallet.
Definitely. But what do I need to do to become a Decentraland user? Is there some prerequisites as well? Because obviously I need to have a user account for that.
I am not sure. Like they are currently in closed alpha phase.
Okay.
In end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, they want to open the public beta. I think that is what currently the official statement. And like at that point, people can start to join Decentraland, use their Ethereum wallet to create give their avatar a name, something like that, and then it will be like a virtual reality social network, basically. I don't think the registration process will be too complicated. Like their philosophy is very, very open, basically.
Can I imagine it this like a second life on a blockchain somehow in virtual reality?
Yeah, basically yes, but with the huge difference that it runs in the browser and of course on a blockchain with cryptocurrencies involved.
Exactly.
And not some Linden dollars or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I never was part of Second Life. I just read some articles about it. So, but it somehow had the same like being very real appearance, like being really a Second Life. Bucky's already fantasizing on having a business on the road. Bucky, there are a lot of business that you can do beside a road, you know?
Oh, yes, I know. I'm keeping my options open.
Yeah, you should. Definitely. Because you have, obviously, there is a road.
I'll be dealing off the side of the road. I was just saying I'm going to put up a crabapple tree, and then when kids steal my crabapples, I'm going to shoot at them with my salt gun.
Very good idea. Very good idea. And so, and if this is Third Life, like Leonis just said, then obviously Chainbreak is a game that you can play in Third Life.
Yes.
This is sounding really interesting, and where you can make even as an income or a return on invest, however you want to call it.
Many years ago, when Second Life was in its heyday, I did a lot of work on that through university. So we built recreations of historical sites in Second Life, and it was big projects, artists involved, archaeologists. It was very, very exciting. But then Linden Labs upped their educational pricing from, I'll say, $200 a year to $1,200 a year. And we couldn't afford to maintain our land. So those Linden dollars, those were Linden Labs, they just priced themselves out of the market. We couldn't stay. And it was sad because like a platform like Second Life or now Decentraland, I think there's a great future in it. But the sustainability as a business, like you're saying, Jan, I hope the business models get really, really straightened out. I hope they get really refined so that people can actually create businesses in these sorts of environments and have them legitimately keep going. You know, have healthy business models.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the last question. So, is this something that you're aiming to, Renee? Having people creating their business within, or having Chainbreak as at least partly in there?
I mean, from our perspective, Chainbreakers is like a game. Like it's not really like this crazy business thing that Decentraland enables, of course, like e-commerce within
Yeah,
this
yeah, sure.
metaverse. But of course, I mean, World of Warcraft also had like an auction house where you could do like a which had its own economy with
True.
items and stuff like that. Maybe we can see something like that in Chainbreakers. You never know. I mean, we have like all the items are NFTs, like non-fungible tokens that can be traded outside the game, inside the game, on different markets. So that's of course also like a speculative
Yeah, but I'm sure that something
aspect.
will be coming that way if this is tradable, and then it will be traded. No.
Yeah, I think so too. Like people will invest in our crowd sale. Some will invest without being players. Like that's something that happened all the time. People want to like flip it for twice as much
Yeah.
as the initial value for some certain unique things. Yeah, we will see that. I'm quite sure about that.
Yeah, I'm sure as well, because this is normally what happens. And Texlat, I just said to Bucky. Therefore, I said that there are a lot of business that you can do beside the road, and you know, best business. I don't know. It's the oldest business, at least they say so. But no, not necessarily best. But if you're doing it in VR, I don't know. Uh, do we have kids in here? No, not today. Oh yeah, we do. Flugschwein. Ah, crap. You're still not Corona. You're still not mature. That's a bad thing. So just you haven't heard that. It's not the best and not the oldest business, and you shouldn't go there. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Bucky. I just had a look at the audience, and then I said, well, um, dear audience, any questions that you might have to chainbreakers.io and Renee, that is live with me in the show, now would be a perfect time to ask them in the MSP Waves audience text channel. Or, I don't know, try a Dove sending to me to Germany. But this is maybe arriving late then. No, it's all good, Flugi. We did the best. We did protect you. At least we're trying our best to protect you from the evil world outside. So any questions that you might ask, now would be the perfect timing.
I have a question. Rene, Decentraland is an open source platform. Are there any aspects of what you guys are developing that's going to be open source?
Yeah, everything. Like the smart contracts will be open source, and we will publish the code in the GitHub for the client as well. I mean, it's the most important thing when you program a blockchain game, that every player exactly knows the rules.
Oh, I love this.
Which they are playing. Yeah, I mean, there has to be full transparency, and if there is like a scammy aspect in some function of the code, people should like unveil it and say like this is a scam, so that others don't lose their money. But yeah, of course, we want to provide a fair experience, which can be like proven by reading the code. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's Bucky. A good question, by the way. But that's perfect, because I really think that transparency is key by having blockchain things coming out of this corner where they have been put into by all these ICO scams that happened during the last year, or the last years even. Love and Freedom asked, Renee, to you, what do you do on Chainbreakers? Are you playing too?
Right now I'm doing like the project managing and coordinate the team, and we are like we are thinking about all these game design aspects and game mechanics, building the items, balancing the game, like stuff like that. And yeah, I think I will be playing too.
Yeah, and he owns all the land. No, that's sadly most likely not true. Because Decentraland is quite big, and most likely a small German-based company did not have the money to buy all of it. I think.
I own all the land, Phil.
Yeah, you own all the landfills that are currently.
I own every landfill
in
on
Decentraland.
Decentraland.
Rivals wants to know if he gets a coffee when he comes around, Renee.
Yeah, man, you can visit us. I mean, I just read that you are living close to us, and yeah, we can like DM, and then of course you can get a coffee for
Rivals
free.
and Louis are twins. By the way, whatever you say to Rivals is true for Louis as well, because they are twins. They are normally not separating.
Okay, so we need at least
We
two
need two
coffees or
coffees.
anything that can be divided by two.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. Just give them a very small piece of chocolate, and then they should deal with themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I don't know. Maybe Texlot said utopian-io. What she's wanting to say with that, I don't know. Bucky, have you maybe had an introduction with?
No, I haven't. I mean, I sent Renee a link to utopian.io, but we didn't have a discussion about what Utopian actually does. But you know, it may be something
it's complicated,
that we need
and
to
it's
do.
maybe something that we should talk about. Or Ilana, maybe you could talk with Renee about what we're doing, and maybe how chain breakers, or us, or Quellcode, or whomever could have a win-win situation. Or not, Ilana, this is the thing that you can do best, because obviously you're a marketing girl. And by the way, you are in the room and not talking. What's happening? Yeah, this was the wrong button.
I actually came home from a fairly complex root canal because the universe hates me.
It
So
does
I've had
sometimes, at least.
Yeah, and it's always on Wednesdays for some unbloody known to me reason. So yeah, I hope I don't sound too much like Elvis because I can't feel half my face.
No, it's okay.
But well, yeah, Utopian is definitely where you should be engaging a community of developers that are not necessarily familiar with your project yet. It's kind of what we do. We connect projects and developers and help them create better
you
projects
earned it
together.
by yourself. Ilana, you earned it by yourself. This is what Nothing's Magic is saying. You ignored tooth
I'm really
fairy.
trying not to laugh because I still have that tooth on my table,
Ooh.
and I just decided that I'm gonna bring it with me to Steamfest and see if
I'm not there, so all good.
yeah, maybe I'll get a better, I don't know, I get a better price because like I don't know. 10
Oh, Bucky,
Steam?
really?
There was no haggling at all. He just sent me 10 Steam, and with all due respect, I decided it's worth more.
Huh. That's a thing. Yeah. So what I want to do now is
How
we're
Jewish is it to haggle with the Tooth Fairy? That's just like stereotypically Jewish. I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah, it is. Renee, sorry for interrupting, because I just wanted to greet Ilana. I just saw her in the room, and we are way overdue with our interview. And I'm sorry because I'm holding you up. Renee said in the pre-interview talk that we had that he's quite busy today, and you're doing what? The whole office is still working on what exactly? What are you doing? Oh, leaving. That's basically it then. Maybe he's coming back. Maybe he doesn't. Well, what he said in the pre-interview that they are currently working heavily because, as you have seen, their crowd sale is starting exactly in 17 hours. So I think that these are 17 very hectic and very interesting hours for Chainbreakers.io, because having a crowd sale going live is for sure something that, is at least interesting. And maybe tomorrow isn't the best day to drive to them, Rivals and Louis, because I think they're going to be quite busy. I think. Hey Renee, welcome back.
Best time for Discord to make an update, right?
Yeah, perfect. This was really cool. So I had the time to say, I didn't exactly know what you're doing, but since you have in 17 hours and 4 minutes and 56 seconds starting your crowd sale. You need to be quite busy right now, no?
Yeah, like some of the people are still in the office doing the last testings or improvements in UX and stuff like that. And yeah, I will join them now to finish.
Yeah, very good. Thanks a lot for taking the time. It has been a pleasure for me, and I think for the whole audience as well. If you're hearing this in the recorded version, maybe you already missed the crowd sale. For all that are currently here and watching us live or listening to us live, crowd sale is still 17 hours to go. Yeah, thanks a lot, Renee, for taking the time to be here. It was really a pleasure, and I wish you the best of luck for the crowd sale and that everything works out just as you planned.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure to be here, and if you want to like recap at another time, just hit me up, and then we can see how far
I definitely want to. And since I'm not that far away, maybe I'm doing that coffee thing as well. But I will pre-inform you. Okay, thanks a lot, and have a nice evening, and I hope that everything is working out tomorrow, and like a charm, you know.
Thanks, and bye.
Bye. Ilana, my dear, so you had a root canal thingy, and now you have a tooth lying before you. What does a root?
No, that's the old tooth. I've been having like a horrible month when it comes to dental problems, and so I had one tooth removed, and nothing is magic offered to buy it by just sending me money and saying mail it to me. So like I said, I'm gonna put it out for auction at Steamfest. Except not really. I'm not gonna do that. It's just suddenly felt very weird to mail your tooth to someone. And then when I had it removed, the doctor noticed that I had another cavity. Okay, that's not what happened.
That's not what happened. This is not just not what happened. That's so not what happened.
Am I ready for Poland? I hope I'm ready for Poland. No, I haven't. I'm not even a little ready for Poland. I don't really remember what happened. I was on so many painkillers, and I'm about to be on even more painkillers.
How many painkillers are now in your organism?
Right now, mostly the lidocaine shots. Lidocaine? I don't know. I can't feel half my face. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna pop some pills afterwards because I am in a world of pain. So yeah, I honestly don't remember what the story is. Nothing is magic, but if you want to be, if you want to like tell the story, in the meantime, go ahead. Because while I can like still talk and not scream in pain, I'm gonna go over the news because there's like been a lot of really interesting news this week. So
yeah, definitely there has been one big news item of the week.
One of the biggest, and it's actually the biggest deal, the biggest software deal ever. $34 billion, friends.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That's a crazy lump of money. That's just insane. IBM announced on October 28th that it will be taking over Red Hat and paying $34 billion, which is a 63% premium over their stock price at the time. And there's been a lot of discussion about why they're doing it. And also some very interesting discussion about why this is actually really, really good. Because it shows that open source is not just, it's not a fad. It is like really, really serious business. And we already knew this when Microsoft bought GitHub, and before that, Salesforce purchased, the other way around, Salesforce purchased MuleSoft. So there's like a lot really changing. Now, from what I understood, the main goal of this purchase, and I'm unfortunately not sufficiently technological to give you a real in-depth commentary on it, but the idea is to create a hybrid cloud for enterprises to work with, which is something you probably know a lot more about than I.
Yeah. But nevertheless, even if this is working out, it's still the hell a lot of money to pay for Red Hat. But it shows that
IBM that might just come out to be a very, very good deal, because they haven't really had, their sales have been dropping and dropping and dropping. So they had to find some kind of engine to grow their revenue stream, and Red Hat already comes with a revenue stream.
Yeah, well, that's true, but still,
it's also interesting to note that Red Hat was released on Halloween of 1994. So that's interesting.
That's quite a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was also Halloween. Like now is Halloweenish.
Yeah.
So that, and another thing that happened today, and it's not really news, but unless I am wrong, and today marks the anniversary of the publication of the original Bitcoin white paper.
Oh, Hilo, you are so ahead of your times. You said it even before. That's amazing.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen. I was looking at my new screen. Yes, that's that. Yeah, indeed.
That's true.
It was published today, 10 years ago. The Bitcoin white paper is 10 years old, and it's really interesting to see how that paper changed the world so much in 10 years.
And by the way, it's not too complicated. It's not too complicated to understand it. You can really give it a go.
That depends on the kind of painkillers I'll be taking, I guess.
No, I don't necessarily only mean you personally, but you as being the audience.
I know. Just
it's not too complicated. It's quite straightforward.
I'm gonna believe you. I have not been able to get through the Steam white paper, but there was an attempt.
That's a bit more complicated, actually, because
that might be the reason.
What Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto did is doing this on 8 pages, so it's not too complicated, you know.
8 pages is not a lot. I might actually give it a go.
No, it's not. It's not really. It's not big. It's really something that you can understand. It's not too complicated.
White paper edition. Wow. Okay. Ledger Nano SF is special edition to celebrate.
Oh, really? Didn't know that. White paper edition.
Halo just dumped it into the channel.
Just saying. Hilo. Just saying. Bucky, can you go to Hilo and punch him, please?
Oh, come on! Don't be violent like that.
Why not?
Just saying. Let the man just say.
I just said to Bucky that he should be violent.
It's vicarious violence. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but he's Canadian, so it's all good.
He's not capable of violence. Their violence is just like a stern look, and even then they apologize for it afterwards.
I'll tie you to a tree with a stout rope.
With a stout rope.
And say bad things at you for quite a period, and then we'll.
And then I'll be I don't know.
Could it be a maple tree?
Oh, we could raffle that nano if we would have one.
We don't do syrup in Newfoundland. You got to talk to Hilo about the syrup. He's a syrup.
Oh, okay. Because I really love maple syrup.
He's a karate man.
Anyway, I can't eat anything. Why are you talking to me about maple syrup? I love maple syrup, and I can't eat anything. Two other interesting news bits that I have is one about how open source innovation might influence fashion. And that's actually something that I've been thinking about, and like how open source exists in formats that we don't necessarily call open source, because it's not really like source code, it's not software, but it's something a little different. For example, you can have products that are open source, like food. How is it open source? You know the ingredients, you know where the ingredients came from, and you have the instructions for preparation. And you can do the same thing with fashion. It could be blueprints to make trousers. It could also be dream with me for a second, okay? Dream with me that when I go and I purchase a pair of pants, I know not only where it was made, who it was made by, but also where the materials came from. So I can look at the, say, pants blockchain and look at these, at the data of the product that I'm buying and know where, how it was made and what processes were used. And I don't know, maybe like, you have fair trade foods, like fair trade pants. So I think that this is really interesting, and the role of open source and transparency throughout the process of production of different products, I think is a very good trend, and I'm all in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of printing trousers, but it's maybe we're
I've seen 3D printed fashion, and it's very complicated, and I don't think I'd wear it. It looks all very, very complex.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I don't think I'll ever have clothes that fit me right. I'm too unusual. And the last thing
you could maybe resize them to your own size and then print them.
That could be cool. Actually, there's a company in the UK that does something like that, and they're actually mentioned in that article that I linked to. One last thing before I go and try not to overdose on painkillers. I saw a report, it was published yesterday, about a problem that I think that Utopian is going to solve, and I really, really hope that as a company we'll manage to at least provide some kind of partial solution to solve this issue. So I'm going to ask you a question. Why do you think developers avoid contributing to open source? What do you think makes people not contribute?
Is this an open question to all of us, or just to me and Bucky?
Let's make it an open one. What do you think is preventing developers from contributing? Cost model ratio. No, that's not it. No, not even. I mean, it let me see. It's a cheat sheet. Not significant. Monies, again, not as significant. Lack of resources.
Oh yeah, that's true, Tenza. I'm in with that. There are many open source owners who really fuck other devs over other devs.
Yeah. Okay. Love and freedom is actually right. That is one of the reasons. But interestingly enough, according to this report, the two most common reasons for developers to not contribute to open source, to not be involved in the open source communities, are it seems too difficult to get started, or I don't know where to start.
Yeah,
and right after that
okay.
is I feel like I don't have the right skills to contribute. And so I think that when I saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what Utopian is going to be solving over, the upcoming, however long it takes us to solve such a complex problem.
Maybe this isn't really solvable, but we can make it better.
Oh, yeah, because, we can switch it, Also, the following reasons are my company doesn't give me time to contribute. And there's 28% said I am too intimidated to contribute. Well, people are intimidated, like you said, because some project owners sometimes do, all sorts of stuff. By the way, I wrote a Steemit post like months and months ago about where to get started if you want to contribute to open source. So there are such guides and there are websites.
Yeah,
and
programs.
Yeah. I made a whole list of them. There was a whole list of them, and whole initiatives that are just like first pull request. It's really trying to get people into the community, but it's still very hard. It's still very, very intimidating for people, and they feel they don't know enough, and they feel they don't have the skills to contribute. Well, obviously, you do. Everyone has a skill to contribute, even me, and I'm not even remotely a developer. So other interesting data that this survey.
Well, you know what my people are always saying when I say, hey, because I have a lot of developers actually. And I said, hey, why are you not contributing? And here I having this and that and so. You know what they're saying? I'm programming at work and doing this 8 to 10 hours a day. And maybe I'm not needing to do this at home as well. And yeah, that's the same reaction I got.
I guess that this is also discussing what people do. What people do as part of their job. Because if my company doesn't give me time to contribute, 75% of companies use open source technologies or expect to be using it, while only 55% of developers that work for these companies are contributing to it. So there's a gap there. There are a lot of people using the open source products, but not as many contributing to them, even though they could. They just don't know that they can, or they think they lack the skills, or they're intimidated.
But I'm with Bucky a bit, because that's he just said that sometimes the last thing that I want to do in the evening is make music. So nevertheless, I agree. It seems difficult to get started is maybe one of the biggest things, and don't feeling they have the right skills for being able to
but the thing is, it should be led by the organization. You shouldn't have to do this in your own free time. If you're using
it's complicated.
If you're using Quasar in your organization and you're making all kinds of developments to it, making them open source is better for the community, then why not make it open source? Why keep it why keep it closed source? So
in my special case, I'm working in a bank, and they think open source is a bit devil's work, So,
but you do use open source tools.
Yes, for sure, but only the other way around.
Exactly, you don't give back.
Exactly. So I'm doing this one step at a time, just slowly dripping water on a stone, and then sooner or later you're going to have a hole in it. But this is not something that is coming as a, just from the one day to the other.
Yeah, well, but I think that it's really I think that this I'm gonna go back to this report a lot as I'm working with Diego on the Utopian big ass business plan, and I'm gonna be going back to that a lot, and looking at those challenges and seeing how we can try and fix that. So that's kind of what I had today. I am really, really sorry to abandon you so quickly. I just really have to go and just take a lot of painkillers and lay down somewhere dark.
Yeah, do that. Thanks a lot for being.
Thank you very much, and
us.
I'm
maybe
so sorry.
we
next Wednesday. By the way, next Wednesday we are in Krakow at Steamfest, and I don't know what our plans are yet, but I hope we will be able to do a radio show from there. I don't know, but I would really like to. In any case, this is me signing off. You guys have fun.
Ilana, if I don't get a chance to talk to you before Poland, for the next show, do some magic.
Yeah.
Do some magic.
With net.
On the floor. Yep. Do some magic, because my doubts.
Doubts?
You can my doubts. Yes.
Yes, your doubts.
You know how to say it. Krim will help you. Doubts. And but if you can pull off the magic for next week, rock and roll.
I'll see what I can do. I'll be out there and I'll be hyper caffeinated, and we'll see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to meeting whoever here is going to come. I'm just, if you see the pink thing moving very quickly, just stop it and give me a hug. That'll be me. Just give me a hug and say, I heard you on the radio show with your mouth half asleep. So
yeah,
you'll be able to talk a lot faster now because you'll have less teeth in the way.
No, it's the same number of teeth. It's the same number of teeth. It's just 10 times the normal pain levels I usually live with, because I have chronic pain, so I'm used to being in pain. But this is a whole different level.
That sounds like a bad thing. You shouldn't do this at home, kids.
No,
don't do that.
Don't get dental pain. Just don't.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ilana.
Bye-bye.
And see you then. I don't know. Maybe we're going to have some special thingy on next Wednesday but maybe not. Just let's see what we can dig up. And if not, have some fun times with Grim and Louise and Rivals. And I don't know whom else is going to Krakow out of the audience. But from these three, I think I know. Just have fun. Ilana is... just watch how fast these pink hairs can move. That's quite amazing. Yeah. So, Bucky, you there?
I am here.
That's perfect, because what I want to do now is pull up Dale from Valley Audio. Hello, Dale.
Hello.
Perfect. So you're here, everything's working, I can hear you fine. Cool. And why I asked Bucky to be around is because he's the synthesizer. Yeah, again, it happened. Synthesizer guy. I'm falling over my own tongue, obviously. So, Bucky, how is this working with the theme song that you did with the Valley Audio thing? Was it easy?
Well, let me give a little introduction first to who we're speaking to here. And by the way, we have a really great crowd here in Discord. Here we have a nice crowd here today. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Now, for you musicians out there, we have our guest today is Dale Johnson, and Dale is the project owner for Valley Audio, and he makes software synthesizer modules and other types of modules. He shouldn't say only synthesizer, because he does other things too besides synths, but modules for like modular synthesis, and it's very exciting. And he's agreed to come on today to talk to us about his project and some work he does, and with his modules and the VCV Rack platform as well. So it's very exciting. So Dale, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
It's really exciting to have you here. And I'm just going to say that I use your modules myself. And weeks and weeks ago, I did a theme song for the show here, a little quick theme song. And which module did I turn to immediately? Dexter. Yeah, fantastic stuff. So
what is Dexter? Come on, help us.
Yeah. So why don't you take it away? Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the work that you do with your module?
Okay, so about a year ago, I was introduced to VCV Rack, which is a open source modular synthesizer. The idea is that not only do you use like existing modules that the developer Andrew Belt creates, but he's made it so that it's really easy for developers to create their own third-party modules. And because of that, the entire scene has just exploded, and there's about 400, God, there's even more than 400 now, but like a lot of modules available. So I thought, okay, I know C++ because I was taught it at university. So I thought, okay, I've got a lot of ideas. I'm going to try and develop some of my own modules. So that's what I've been doing for the past year. Yeah, 1,200 modules now. Yeah, it's crazy how much there is now. Yeah. And I developed, the first thing I developed was Topograph, which is a clone of the Mutable Instruments Grids, which is a drum sequencer. And I then started to develop Dexter. And initially that was a sort of homage to FM synthesis, specifically a real-life module called Akemi's Castle, which uses an actual Yamaha FM chip. And I developed that first, and I was pretty much happy with it. But then I could see a big potential for new features, like by borrowing other features from other oscillators that I'd seen and other modules that I'd seen in Eurorack, which, by the way, if anyone doesn't know what Eurorack is, it's a hardware modular synthesizer platform. And that's been around for about 10, 15 years now. But anyway, so I added more features, and then it became this crazy module that has like, Bucky's just put a picture of it there. It's the one in the middle. There's loads of knobs for controlling.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it definitely looks complicated.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think a lot of people think it looks complicated is because, well, two things. FM synthesis, when you mention it in the synth community, a lot of people turn away, like straight away. They go, "Ooh, don't like it." It's not analog. It's not. It's digital. It's rubbish. That's only because Yamaha did the worst thing possible, and that was to create this really nice synthesizer, probably one of the earliest affordable digital synths, but gave it probably the worst user interface to program it. So the preset market was big for that because people could buy cartridges, and then before you knew it, you had the sound of the 80s, and pretty much on every 80s record, guaranteed you'll hear a DX7. Pretty much from mid-80s onwards, you'll hear it. It's that classic electric piano sound. That's probably a DX7. But a few people were willing to program it, like Brian Eno, Aphex Twin.
Yeah.
They all sat down and programmed it and created these amazing sounds, which you wouldn't really think is stereotypically FM. I mean, most of the time it sounds cleaner digital, but if you spend a lot of time programming it, it goes beyond. I don't want to say analog, but it sounds different and it sounds exciting. So I then thought, okay, I'll clone this module, but do more, of course, rather than just create a shameless clone. But I'll create my own module for VCV Rack that enables people to get into FM synthesis but not be intimidated by it. So Andrew, he's created a tutorial series on how to use Dexter, and you can see that, okay, it's not as intimidating. It's just that there's a lot of knobs and jacks which allow you to control it in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, knobs are totally important.
And I have to add something too about that. The Dexter, I should grab a screenshot of Dexter and put up in a second. But Dexter, like Dale just said, it's a lot of knobs. But I got to tell you, Dale, I was so intimidated. I really was because you see, I came from a DX7, which I used the default patches. Because the for those people who don't know about a DX7, but the display window, so for doing your edits, is the size of a stick of gum, and
it's terrible.
It's the worst interface ever. And I totally agree with you. FM is a great format, but because it was so hard to edit on the DX7, people just used the defaults, and that's all people knew. So they said, well, I don't like the defaults, so I'm not going to like FM synthesis.
Yeah, the Yamaha just pretty much started the entire synth preset industry. So, yeah.
Very interesting questions, by the way. Very interesting questions by the audience, by Steam Theft. Do you actually, because I asked myself the same thing, there is a lot of knobs, but there are a lot of holes as well. So do you actually drag and drop cables to it, or how is this operated?
Yeah. And that's for, in general, with VCV Rack. You've got these individual modules that aren't initially connected to each other, and they all have different purposes. So some of them are sound generators, or oscillators, if you will. Some of them are filters, which allow you to sculpt your sound, and some of them are effects, sequencers, lots of different things. And the idea is that it's a sandbox. You can put as many modules as you want in, as much as your computer can handle, and then you can connect them together. And the software helps you make sure that you're not doing like silly things like connecting inputs to inputs like you can do in real life, but there's an infinite number of possibilities. So yeah, so that's it's cloning what you do in real life with Eurorack modular synthesizers, where you can have different modules that you can connect in different ways to make different sounds.
Yeah, and that was basically leading to my next question before I give this back to Bucky, because he's obviously much more into the topic than I am. Is this so? This is limited by in the end the computer power that you have at hand. Is it very hungry or greedy?
It's gotten better over time. It's just a matter of developers to spend some time optimizing their code. But there is a point where there's only so much you can do before you kind of need a moderately powerful PC to do like some crazy patches. And to be fair, there's a lot of patches out there where people have like filled up a big 4K monitor, and yet somehow it still runs. So I would say that
okay.
If you have a good gaming PC or something equivalent like a Mac Pro, I'd say you should have no trouble. But if your laptop is say more than about 3-4 years old, then it starts to struggle. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Bucky, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, I'm just trying to grab an image here. Just give me one.
Ooh, so you're preparing an image. Is this one of the video that you're trying to not post?
No, I wanted to put out. This is we're speaking about Dexter, and Dexter is like Dale said, it's a clone of it's a FM synthesis module, but it's a lot more than that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, but it's just so it's infinite. The sounds you can get from this thing. It's an amazing module, Dale. It's fantastic. How much work was involved in creating this one, just the Dexter one alone?
probably about 6 months worth of work, and it was actually pretty much nearly done about Christmas last year. Well, yeah, Christmas last year, and then I suddenly had a brainwave and thought, oh, I could add some more features, and then that sticks another 2 months on the development time as I'm trying to put that in. So it took a lot longer than I anticipated, especially when it came to trying to optimize it as well. I had to rewrite a lot of code as I went just to make it so that it had good CPU usage.
One question, my hand is raised up in the air. So for a dummy like me, what is Dexter doing, and why is it called Dexter?
Okay, so Yamaha made a synth called the DX7, and I thought, okay, Dexter.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
a lot of clones of the DX7, in fact, have something like that in the name. Another major like VST or virtual DX7 that you can use. DX7 synth that you can use is called Dext. So that's spelled DEXED, and yeah, it's just to use that naming scheme that Yamaha was using for the FM synth. So it's a homage to the Yamaha DX series.
Okay, understood.
Now, I would invite everybody out there that's a musician, is interested in electronic music at all. I would invite them to play with VCV Rack, because these are all open source. Well, not every module in VCV Rack is open source, but the vast majority are. There are hundreds, and you can go install it on your machine, and you can run it. Using your buffer, you can probably get a setting, even if your machine is a little older. You still might be able to use it fine until you get into some really crazy big patches. But if you're into electronic music at all, I would invite you to go and install this and try it. It's fantastic. 808s. Oh yeah. Do you have any recommendations for Steam Ceph's 808 module request there, Dale? Do you have?
I know that Horror Music has made some individual modules for each voice of the 808, including an 808 Zoc style sequencer. So yeah, but that's a paid module set, but it's a really well done one, in my opinion. There's a few other ones out there as well that like have just samples of the 808, but I think Horror, if I'm not mistaken, is like analog modeling. So it's trying to model exactly what an 808 is doing for VCV Rack. There are some fantastic modules that I've seen. I've been using some of the Nicinthi modules. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And holy cow, they are so good. Yeah.
There's so many fantastic modules. I'm going to paste in the VCV Rack site in a sec, so you guys can check that out too. And then
okay. Interesting. What instruments do I need to be able to play to be able to play with a synthesizer, or do I need to do nothing? I'm really super dumb here. I'm playing guitar and I'm playing a few other things, but
okay, so it can generate sound by itself. You plug modules into the sound output and you'll get a sound. But there are modules for interfacing MIDI keyboards with it, so there are MIDI to CV modules in there.
So understood.
Dale, is this you and your setup, like your Eurorack setup? Because
no,
I was going to say
that's I don't know if you've heard of the place, but that was at Schneidersladen in Berlin. So I went. It's a very famous synth shop. So anyone who's heard of Eurorack or been around in the scene for a while will hear this name, and it's mentioned in the documentary "I Dream of Wires," where they do an interview with Schneider himself, and. Yeah, that room was fantastic. It's about the size of a large bedroom, but it's full of synthesizers and music stuff. And I was actually really overwhelmed when I went in there. I was like, where do I begin?
And how long do you have open?
Oh, say that again, sorry?
I said, yeah, where do I begin and how long do you have open? How long can I stay?
Oh, sorry. I thought that was actually a question. But,
I would say that's endless. I would say you could sit in front of that kind of setup and you'd be there for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I just went there on a really hot afternoon in Kreuzberg, and I spent about an hour in that shop, and my two friends were like, yeah, we need to go now, and I had to pull myself away from it because I was really engrossed with what I was doing there. And it was just a simple little patch I had going on there, but it looked so impressive, and I thought, I need a picture of this. That was my Facebook picture at one point.
That's a great looking photo. Jan,
Yes.
for the from whether it's module synthesis like you're talking about in that photo, or it's using VCV Rack, you can create the sounds by connecting and manipulating the virtual wiring and the dials and the settings in the modules. Or you can hook up a MIDI keyboard and you can play your keyboard or your, maybe say, a Roland drum set, like a electronic kit. I have one of those. And you can play the modules using your hardware as well, like your keyboard or your drum pads. So you could do that. And you can also, some modules accept audio, so you can play your guitar into it, and then the modules will also make changes to it as well.
Cool.
That probably brings me to your next module, Dale, because you've done that module. Dexter was an FM synthesis module. What other modules do you have that you're proud of?
Plateau, by far. That was actually quite surprising to me to see how successful that module was, because I thought, okay, there's already some reverb modules. Oh yeah, I should mention Plateau is a reverb module. There already were some reverb modules out there, so I thought, okay, you know, I'll do it, because it was kind of a stopgap for me before I started developing other things. But then I added loads of features and loads of modulation inputs so that you could really have control over it. But because it sounded so lush, it somehow struck a chord with quite a lot of people. So in most of the videos nowadays I've seen, I'm not trying to, sound big-headed or anything, but there's like, you see that module somewhere doing, adding reverb to the patch. And a lot of people said to me, yeah, this sounds really good. And I was generally taken aback by how many people are using this module, because there was quite a few modules, reverb modules out there already. I guess what drew people in was its look, I guess, because some people were like, "Oh, this looks really cool. This looks quite wacky." And I've been inspired by the Make Noise module, so I was going with that look, and I guess it struck a chord with a lot of people, that module, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a really, really nice module.
I've started playing with it myself, because I haven't used that one very much, but I'm seeing where you could find some real unique sound.
Yeah, but I've got some other modules in the pipeline. So on my actual Facebook page, I have a roadmap of some modules that I'm going to be developing, or I'm currently developing right now. Yeah, so one of them is a homage to the Roland SH101 called Interzone, and I've actually done 2 teaser videos for that as well. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's Valley Audio, and there's 2 teasers on that of where it's at. But I'm developing some other ones as well, like a signal multiplier. I'm actually making a version of, I'm making a module that uses the individual parts of Dexter, so the actual operator itself as an individual part, rather than having to use the entirety of Dexter. So, what else have I got? I think that's it for now. Yeah, can remember off the top of my head. But I keep coming up with ideas and think maybe I should stop coming up with new ideas and actually develop them and get them released. Cause...
having ideas is basically the first step. Without them, developing things is maybe not the best idea.
Yeah. Well,
so this is the DX7. Okay, understood.
Yeah. That's the DX7. You can see in the middle of it, it has that
chewing
gum size.
Yeah, exactly. And now a question: where is the Moog fitting in? Is it called Moog?
Yeah, Moog. I'm not cloning it myself, but there is another guy out there. I think it's called Lindenberg Research. He's another module developer who's made some Moog-style modules. Yeah.
So that was earlier, is it? Because I always hear Moog is something that I know from way back. I don't know when and how, but I think that was somehow also a synthesizer, wasn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, the Mini Moog, in fact, was probably it's probably the most famous and well-known
it's Moog?
synthesizer of all time.
Moo. I cannot pronounce it properly because obviously I'm German and
There's two ways of pronouncing it. I hear people say Moog, and I said Moog because I watched a documentary and I heard Robert himself say Moog, so I was like, okay, that's the correct pronunciation. It was.
Okay, yeah, that's maybe
but Moog is valid, and yeah.
Okay.
Some people prefer this. Some people prefer Moog because it sounds cooler. So I was like, okay.
Understood. Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Bucky. I didn't want to, but it just came to my mind that this was basically the one thing I know about synthesizers, that there was a synthesizer called Moog or Moog. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't worry about the pronunciation. You just got to just play it. I think that I would love to have my hands on one of those mini Moogs. That'd be so cool. I just put up there. It was only this week I ordered a drummer from another mother, which is a Moog instrument. I just ordered it, so I'm expecting in a week or two. Yeah, I just ordered one. I just happened upon a killer deal that I couldn't pass up, so I didn't plan on buying it. But I'm a sucker for a drum machine.
Same.
That's really cool stuff. I was going to say earlier, where you mentioned about how you have so many great ideas for modules that you'd like to create, but hard to find the time to do it. Like you probably heard Texlot earlier, Alana. You probably heard her speak earlier about Utopian and what we do. What we do is we connect open source project owners like yourself with talented developers. So it may turn out that down the road, this is not the time now, but maybe in a few days or a week or a month, whenever you're ready, you should speak to somebody in me or Ilana or somebody in Utopian about how we could probably help mobilize some developers to help you with some of your work, maybe some of the more mundane things that you need coded. There may be some people within the community that might want to jump on. I don't write code myself, but I do know that there's so many musician code writers that are so passionate about the music work, probably like yourself, I guess. But people who are working on Audacity and other projects that are music related, they're playing music, they're programming. It's just a great connection. So it's good stuff. Open source for music, yes, Lovin', yep.
Yeah, I heard that before. In fact, yeah, where I saw that poll. In fact, where people are like, "Oh, I don't have the time," and I mean, I think I say that I don't have the time. It's mainly because I'm juggling a load of projects at once, including my full-time job, which also happens to be programming. So,
that was exactly what I wanted to ask. Are you doing this for a full-time job, or is this just like your hobby, your highly sophisticated hobby?
Okay, so VCV Rack is my hobby, and synthesizers in general have been my hobby, though they have sort of determined my career path because it was synthesizers themselves that got me into music technology, sound recording, and wanting to pursue that as a course and to get into it. And I've just recently finished my PhD, and my supervisor said, "Oh, we should actually do stuff full time." So he's offered me a job, and so quite recently I've started programming for full time now.
Is that in the music field, that work?
It's actually more to do with psychoacoustics, which is the research of the perception of sound, so how we perceive sound. And
we should. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but should I be calling you Doctor?
Not yet, because I've not done my defense yet. I've only just submitted the thesis, so I'm just waiting for the defense.
Okay,
well,
so
if they
not
call me,
congratulating.
they ask for my opinion on your thesis, I'll be sure to speak highly of. Well, do you mind telling us a little bit more about your your psychoacoustics work?
Yeah,
is that something you'd like to speak?
Totally interesting,
sure.
Actually.
Yeah. Okay. So it started off as a master's, and I was trying to create a 3D reverb where you give it a three-dimensional room model, and it would do something called ray tracing, where it figures out where sound travels around the room and creates an impulse response. So it models the reverb of a room. But then my supervisor said, "Oh, you should turn this into a PhD and like apply it to some problems." So one of the main focuses of my PhD is to actually try and make reverb and acoustics sound better, because one of the main problems you may find when you are modeling the real world is that not only do you model the positives, you can also model the negatives. So problems you might have with acoustics in certain rooms, such as flutters, comb filtering, coloration, something that makes the reverb sound unpleasant, you accidentally, or you pretty much bring those over into the virtual world. So I thought, okay, well, what if I identify what reflections are contributing to these negative effects? And would I be able to somehow remove them in order to improve the reverb? So, yeah, and that's opened up a lot of different avenues. That's raised a lot of research questions, which I can't answer yet until my, I can't talk about yet until my thesis is published, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, with the reverb business is multi-billion-dollar business. You think about companies like Lexicon and some of these companies that create these killer reverbs. They're not cheap, and they're the staple of the music industry. I mean, I know I have some reverb just plugins that I use in Pro Tools, and I've had some hardware over the years that I've liked, but finding that perfect reverb, like you're saying, I know what you're saying about modeling a specific room and what would the reverb, what would be the negative and positives of a certain room, but I think that's also music specific, because where a certain reverb or certain color or a certain sound of reverb might be great for a jazz recording, but that just may not work for an opera recording or a hip hop recording. So I think that it's such a big field. I know that any engineers that I've worked with over the years, when I sit down and talk to them about, well, what do you think about doing some reverb treatments on certain sounds, and they could talk for hours. It's a big field.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you should mention Lexicon. You know, that's like the Lexicon 480 is like something I want. If I could afford one, I'd definitely have one. This sounds so good. It's such a nice reverb. Yeah. And you know what? They are expensive, and I think if for somebody who's recording professionally, it's a necessary evil, because to get that reverb sound it's just night and day between that and something that's just not there. I just personally, I find a poorly placed reverb which can just kill a recording, kill it. So yeah, and then EQing on the reverb as well and things like that. Anyway, we can get on. I can get so much in depth in that I'm speaking from no knowledge because I'm a musician. I'm not an engineer, but I just know certain things sound right. Certain things sound beautiful, and it's like when you like Plateau. Like I can see where Plateau to you must have been a real labor of love, because of your interest in reverb, all that interest that's coming through in that module. So I'm gonna have to dig into Plateau even more so I can see what you did. There's one thing though, I shouldn't take all the credit for Plateau, because it is actually based on an academic paper by I think it's called John Dattero, yeah, where he proposed this algorithm. So I've adapted that existing algorithm, and a few other people have. It's actually quite a common algorithm out there, but it's just a matter of implementing it and tuning it to make it sound just that bit better. And that's the thing with reverb in general. You have to spend a lot of time tuning it. There isn't, I know you say you want to find the perfect reverb, but there isn't really one perfect reverb. And there's a lot of academic papers telling you how to make one, but they don't tell you how to make one sound good. So it's a matter of accuracy versus plausibility. And a lot of the times in music production, it's better for it to sound plausible and pleasing rather than totally accurate.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
There is one
how
thought.
about?
There is one thought crossing my mind, Bucky, and now I'm feeling really bad about it. Is this the way you feel when I'm talking about techie things?
I don't know.
Okay, that's good. That's a good enough explanation for me.
We're all passionate about what we do, and Dale Jan here is he's like hardcore techie, And normally I don't talk on the microphone because I don't have anything to add. But I'm just comic relief. But yeah, I'm really glad we got you in because this is something I'm very passionate about, and I know we have some musicians here in the audience because
I'm one as well. I'm a musician as well, but this is way beyond me. I'm listening with an open mouth,
Yeah, but you know what? I think that if what we're talking about here with reverb, even that alone, that's something that with your guitar playing and things you're using all the time.
That's true.
But I was going to say as well, Dale, that you see so many people these days that pull out the old gear, like old plate reverbs and things like that give like a vintage sound as hardware. I'm talking about. Do you think that the software emulation in a reverb? Do you think that it will ever be as good as the actual microphones in Carnegie Hall or an actual hardware plate reverb from the 1940s or something? How do you feel about that? Do you think we can emulate that today?
I reckon we can. It depends on how you actually do it. And another thing is it might be a subjective thing that you have to be careful of because a lot of these because a lot of these models they're tuned in a specific way to make it sound pleasing. But if you want to try and actually model one specifically, then I reckon we can. The quick way to do it, if you know anything about convolution reverb, is just to take an impulse response of it. So you just record a sine sweep being played into it or someone tapping on it, and you convolve or process that with music, and in theory that should sound exactly like it. The only difference is that it's a bit like a photograph and impulse response. Once you've taken it, you can't do anything to it other than change the color, which is like changing the EQ. But I've not had any experience properly with physically modeled reverb, but I know that you can sort of do it with convolution reverb.
Well, that's exciting. I know so little about that, but I find that's exciting for me personally because I would love to learn more about that. So that's very cool. I watched a documentary about the plate reverbs that are in Abbey Road studio, and these reverbs have been there for decades. And the reverbs are probably like maybe 2 tons each. And
they're very, very heavy.
Yeah, and they're big pieces of metal. And for those people who don't know what a plate reverb is, it's actually a plate of metal, a massive plate of metal with a sound source. You would go into it, and it would vibrate the metal. And then on various parts of the metal, there would be microphones, and that would pick up the vibrations of the metal and how it responded to what was put into it. So it's very exciting, very exciting. And these plate reverbs that are in Abbey Road, they give that Abbey Road reverb sound, whatever that would be. And if you want that, you got to go to those physical plate reverbs, unless they're modeled, and then you get a modeling of it. Anyway, all exciting.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, like I said, the closest thing to that would be to use an impulse response to that. And I mean, there's probably a model of that by Waves by now. I've not checked, but I know that they did model a lot of the Abbey Road equipment, like the red desks and some of the other stuff that they have there. So no doubt they've probably got a model of the plate reverb at some point. I need to check on that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So Dale, what's next for you? What's next for you with your open source modules? Okay,
so for anyone who's just chimed in, so I've got a few different modules in mind. One, I want to actually address some performance issues with Dexter, so trying to squeeze as much CPU as I can out of that, because I know that some people say, oh man, this is taking up like 10% of my CPU. So I'm like, okay, there's some work that needs to be done. But no, I want to make some some more synth modules like, I've already mentioned Interzone, which is a SH101 clone, or homage, I should say, or a filter from that. So I'm going to split that out into individual modules as well. So you don't have to have a single voice. You can say, I just want the oscillators, or I just want the filter. So I'm going to split that out. I'm also working on something called Amalgam, which is a signal multiplier, which, for those who don't know, it takes two audio signals, and combines them together in different ways. So the most common of these would be ring modulation, which is known for giving the classic Dalek voice in Doctor Who. But there's so many different ways you can multiply a signal. You could do it with mathematical operations, or you could actually do it with digital operations, such as like bitwise masking, as they call it. So you take the digital representation of itself, and you mess around with, you multiply the two signals against each other in that way, and that gives some very glitchy, almost industrial-like sounds. So yeah, I want to make some modules which are optimized for industrial music, because that is kind of what I like. But yeah, I'm trying to make something that is also versatile at the same time, so it's not just for industrial music. Yeah.
Well, when I get my my drummer from another mother, I'll get you some good ratchety industrial sounds. I'll send you. That's very cool. Well, once again, like I said earlier, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come in for the show. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's great to see a glimpse inside of the VCV Rack community as well, because as Dale mentioned earlier, there are hundreds of modules for VCV Rack now that people have created, and the majority of them are open source, and they do all kinds of wild and wonderful things. Some of the modules some of the modules aren't very great, and some of them are kind of sad, but there are some that are really mind-bending. And like Dale said earlier, I've done some tutorials on the Dexter module. And when I sit down with some of these complex modules and I say, okay, before I start to attempt to explain it to somebody on a video how to use it, I should know how to use it myself. And there are some modules, Dale, that I cannot get my head around. They're so, but I see people use them on YouTube, and they get so fantastic, unique sounds. But boy, are they complicated.
I think part of the problem is lack of documentation, which was an early complaint, and I mean that was someone complained about a year ago. So I thought, give it time. If it's just one person working on it, they've got to not only spend time, writing the module, they've got to spend time documenting it. Which leads you into the whole open source aspect, where you could ask someone to contribute a manual to it, couldn't they?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that Utopian does. You see, Utopian provides incentives for open source developers to develop pieces for projects. So documentation is one of the categories we have. So like if you were interested in having a manual done for your project, you could specify exactly what it is that you wanted done, and then you could put it out to the community, and then somebody would develop a document, and then we would reward them with cryptocurrency through the Steam blockchain. So but that's but we can talk about that later. But that may be a way that some of these things can be resolved, because, like you're saying, a lot of the Dexter is very intuitive. A lot of modules are not, and there's a lot of the modules have no labeling. They're just jacks, and there are knobs, and it's like good luck. So that
that sounds good.
It can be tough. Yeah, you plug in a patch cable to it, and you just hope for the best and wonder what it's going to get.
But it reminds me of how it started out with synths. I just messed around with the knobs until it sounded cool. I had no idea what I was doing when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? That's how a lot of us. You know what? That's how we get started with everything. I mean, how many of us take a keyboard out of the box and read the manual first? First thing we're going to do is try all the patches. So, but the VCV Rack community is a very healthy one. And hopefully we can get some other people from the VCV Rack community to come in and talk about their modules as well. And if they're as passionate about their modules as you are about yours, I'm sure it'd be great, more great interviews, I got to say. So, but listen, I want to thank you. We're going to wind up pretty soon now. We got about 7 minutes left before the end of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're gonna raffle off something in a second. But listen, thank you very much, Dale, for coming in. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much.
It's been really
it was a real
informative.
pleasure for me as well. I just wanted to say that, even if it sounded maybe like I'm a little bit left outside alone. Not true. I'm reusing a reverb I heard from Bucky. I'm having some other effects as well, so it's not completely unknown to me.
Well, we'll get you set up with VCV Rack, and you'll be back playing with Craftworks in no time.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Kraftwerk, like I said, and me go way back. So, Bucky, you wanted to raffle something. Oh, by the way, Dale, thanks a lot from me as well for you being here. It was great, and we could have really gone a lot more into the topic of the psychoacoustics, if I'm not completely mistaken. But maybe another time. Now Bucky needs to do his super job of raffling off things. By the way, Bucky, what do we have for raffling today? One of the main question is not who is going to win the raffle, but what's in the raffle.
Well, I have push to talk on my computer, so usually I have to go away and push other buttons. But okay, so the raffle today is a steampunk bundle, and it's a groupies bundle. Steampunk. I'm not exactly sure what's in it, to be honest, right off the top of my head. But it's a steampunk related bundle. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be good.
Woohoo!
And Dale will make some industrial dance music so you can have your steampunk sounds going on while you're reading your books, or So it's so we're gonna raffle this one off now. The way the raffle works, for those people who don't know, the raffle, you have to type in text after I hit the raffle and it starts. You have 1 minute to type in some text. And then the raffle bot will recognize that you've put in text and will include you in the raffle. But if you don't write text in, you won't get included in the raffle, and you can't win if you don't type any text. So once I give you the go, you're going to write in some text. So here's the question that you want to try to answer in the text. We all know that Alana has lost some teeth. So what should she do with these teeth of hers? She's talked about, I don't know, bringing them to Steamfest and maybe getting them bronzed or something. I don't know. Maybe she should get a grill, a gold grill. Anyway, here it comes. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. I typed it in wrong.
You did. There are a lot of underscores, a bit, Oh, we're getting closer and closer to the time.
There you go. Now it started. Okay, now you got to do it again. And we get right in your text now. Okay.
Tooth Fairy is a good idea.
So write your text in now. Yeah, I put underscores in around the time. The time, and it make a musical instrument out of her teeth. I like it. Oh, Halo, Bluetooth. Sadness.
Not bad. Hilo, you should make a comedian show, maybe.
See, nothing is magic. He wants that tooth for some reason. What is it? What is it about this tooth?
Don't know.
Since he sent her cash, he sent her 10 steam for the. Am I getting this right?
Grim, attach it to a stick and poke people with it. I don't know. Maybe I tell that Ilana. Maybe she does it in Krakow.
The gold tooth. That's a line from BC Boys. She got a gold tooth. You know she's hardcore. She'll show you a good time, then she'll show you the door. Okay, we got. It's.
Oh, love and freedom. There you go.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So this is a steampunk collection parcel thingy.
I'll read you what it says. It's got a train punk run game. It's got Tales to be Told Volume 2 audiobook series stories. It's got Absurd Stories for the Rationally Insane audiobook, and it's got The Mutiny music. So it's a bundle of games, or a game, some music,
music,
2 audiobooks.
Everything, basically everything you can want. And yes, I'm totally with you. She wins too much, but there are people that are winning, and there are people like us that are losing, obviously. Yeah, so the outro. We are 1 minute out. So thanks a lot for the whole audience that has been here. Thanks a lot to the guests, Dale from Valley Audio, and it has been Renee from Trainbreakers.io. We have had great guests, great audience. Ilana was there as well. Thanks a lot to all of you. It has been a pleasure having this show, and a great interviews. Really, I'm for sure I'm going to hear them as well another time. Thanks, Bucky, for jumping in and helping me live on air. It has been a pleasure working with you again. And yeah, see you all next Wednesday on this social broadcasting. Bye bye. Have a nice evening.